Y'all know what we're not doing. We're not going to stay home because we're afraid of them, okay? And here's why. The very fact that they're doing all of this stuff, trying to say that the left are domestic terrorists and they're basically trying to criminalize you exercising your First Amendment right to protest, okay? Would they do that if they thought they had a solid grasp on this population? No, of course not. They're doing it because poll after poll after poll, okay? Feel free to go look, is saying that more than half of this country, as in the majority of this country, is not okay with what is happening across the board. You cannot rule when people refuse to be governed. When we realize that our elected leaders are destroying democracy instead of defending it. So I keep hearing everyone ask the question, right? Is it safe to go protest? I think that the real question needs to be, what happens if we don't? Fear is the last puzzle piece. That's the part they're counting on. Guys, remember, Kevin Roberts said, revolution will be bloodless if the left allows it, because they only know how to fight with blood. Look at the text that just came out from Politico. The young Republicans, aka the next leaders of MAGA. These people were talking about graping, unaliving, sending people like you and I to die in you-know-what chambers. I mean, these people are deadly serious. But what they also are is desperate, because they've kept these terrible things that they feel and they say in their own homes basically to themselves and not brought it out into the public. But now they know, the cat is out of the bag. They have to stick the landing, because if they do not stick the landing, steal the elections, silence every one of us, then what's going to happen is when Democrats are back in power, which we will one day be back in power, these people are going to be tried for their crimes. Period, full stop. They know that they are acting lawlessly, and the reason that they are doing that is because they believe that they will never be held to account. Get it? Staying home might feel like the safe choice, but every time one of us chooses to sit one out, they get just a little bit bolder. And guys, democracy, the resistance, isn't one person. It isn't one event. You have the courts, not the Supreme Court, but the federal courts, they're holding the line. They're pushing back. Governors expanding sanctuary city protections. You've got a lot of governors in certain states saying, no, we will not work with ICE. That's not going to happen here. You just heard the other day that a general in Oregon said, okay, if you make us send the National Guard in, they'll be there to protect the protesters, not the police and not ICE. You have the ACLU filing lawsuits all day long, every single day. The resistance isn't this theoretical abstract. It's all of us pushing back. And it is working. Why the hell do you think that they're on this campaign to go around to all of the right-wing media spots and call this the Hate America rally? Because they know full well that millions and millions and millions of Americans are going to spill out into the streets, and there is going to be such a visual pushback that they're not going to be able to control the narrative that they have a mandate for this, that this is what the American public wants. It will be very obvious to the entire world that that is not the case. No democracy survives on autopilot. People showing up. That doesn't mean you have to throw yourself into chaos. It means show up and be counted among the resistance. Because if they can make you too afraid to even go stand in a crowd, they've already won. Your democracy is already over. You guys really need to step back and take a look at what's happening. You have all these people rewriting history, literally ripping down and destroying history, banning books, trying to control education. They're trying to implement their 7 mountain mandate, which means that they control basically all 7 pillars of society: government, religion, education, etc. They do not want a democracy. They want control. They want to replace pluralism with purity, equality with hierarchy, freedom with obedience. If you feel like you can't go on Saturday, I want you to ask yourself what you're going to feel like 2 years from now, when you are not allowed to post basically anything on your social media, where your children are being force-fed whatever directive comes from this sadistic administration. The LGBTQ community has to literally go into hiding when they start unaliving themselves, because the soul-crushing reality of what their country has become again is just too much to bear. When there is segregation, the likes of which we have only read about in textbooks. When women lose everything that we have fought for. And we are no longer allowed to get our own credit cards or mortgages or leave marriages where we are being abused. And we certainly don't even have bodily autonomy anymore. I want you to ask yourself how afraid you're going to be in that moment. What are you going to feel about yourself? I can't tell you what to do. All right? I understand the fear. I do. I get it. I would be lying if I told you I'm not concerned about going on Saturday. But here's the thing. Democracy isn't one with tough-sounding posts. It's one with action. It's one with solidarity. It's one with continual pressure and a loud message to this administration that we will not be governed like this. So yes, I know that it feels hopeless right now. I get that. I do. But what I'm asking you is to be bigger than the moment. I'm asking you to be bigger than your personal fear. I'm asking you to understand that we, as a collective body, means we, all of the people that history will look back on in this moment and ask, what did those people do to defend the idea of freedom that so many of our ancestors have fought and died to protect around the world? When they didn't just have to go to a protest, they had to put on weapons and battle rattle and go around the world and fight for the ideals that we are now being asked to preserve in our own nation. This is genuinely a battle for the soul of America. You were raised pledging allegiance to a flag. And if they want to call us anti-fascist for acting out on what we were all taught, every damn day in school, we were taught to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. Don't give this country to a small fraction of the population who happens to be loud and in power. Do not consent in advance. This is not a consent in advance situation. This is a fuck you make me situation.